And we're live. And with me, I have Hagbard, Celine.
Hello.
Thank you for coming.
Not a problem.
So, how would you describe your personality?
Unpleasant. No, I'm actually I'm a nice guy. I don't really particularly have a large tolerance for nonsense.
Yeah, I could tell from your YouTube channel where you responded to that guy who was like, "We were flying planes. We."
We- And he uses a picture of a Star Wars speeder as his like evidence. He uses a picture of a Star Wars plane. I'm like, well, what are we even talking about?
Yeah. Um, have you ever been a feminist?
No. No, I was never really interested even remotely in anything to do with gender politics or identity politics. I'm still frankly not. That's one of the things that frustrates me is that it's one of the things I have to deal with is listening to people go on and on about these either side of the gender or race debate. It's just like, okay, this ends well. This ends really well.
Okay. Would you describe yourself as an anti-feminist?
Not really. I'm more of just a realist. I'm just an egalitarian realist that thinks that people need to be more willing to accept certain uncomfortable truths than sit around and argue about it.
Okay. Why did you start your YouTube channel? Like, what inspired you?
Oh, it's hard to say what inspired me, but what the way I started my YouTube channel is kind of a funny story. I have African American stepbrothers and sisters. And I saw a presentation wherein these two people were whinging on about hairstyles being racist, and that, if white people do their hair a certain way, it's racist, and if black people do their hair a certain way, it's self-loathing, and yada, yada, yada. And when I was growing up, my stepfather used to braid my hair. They used to make fun of me and call me fucking tenderheaded. This was a norm for me. I didn't understand what the problem here was. You know what I mean? So I essentially what happened is I actually got fucking drunk and made a video, an angry video, and woke up the next morning with a YouTube channel and just found out I'd made some commitments and just kind of kept rolling with it.
Yeah, that's a very interesting story. Very interesting. So, are you an MRA?
Well, insofar as I understand where the MRAs are coming from, they've got more good talking points than the people that identify as feminists at this point.
Mm. So is there anything about MGTOW that you agree with? Have you ever considered yourself to?
I honestly avoid MGTOW like the plague. I'm sure there are good guys involved in the movement. I don't doubt that at all. But I do tend to avoid MGTOW like the plague.
Do you consider America to be a very feminist country?
Depending. I mean, that's very much the problem with speaking in broad terms about America is made up of the coasts, if you will, the West and the East Coast, wherein a lot of buildup in cities and things like that exist. And then you've got the whole rest of the country. And the central portion of this country isn't hearing anything about gender politics or race politics, and they're not going to. That's why I'm not really particularly concerned about these movements taking over America, because they can't. You can't convince a guy that works in a coal mine that his wife would be just as happy and comfortable working in that coal mine. It's never going to happen. It's just not. He's not stupid, and neither is she.
True, but we are having presidents like Obama who wants to pass laws over the United States, and Hillary Clinton is coming out as a feminist, and who knows what laws she's going to try to spread throughout the states. It seems like we're moving towards communism, in my opinion.
Oh, certainly. That's the unfortunate side effect of people essentially not wanting to be responsible. When you infantilize the population, this is what you end up with.
Yes, that's what my concern is. I really feel like we're moving towards a communistic country, and that's what concerns me. I
Yeah, well, it's always nice when a country slows down, isn't
Mhm.
it?
What feministic aspects do you see in our country that you would like to see changed?
Well, it's mostly the overall overreaching attitudes that people have. That's the reason I started getting into the anti-feminist scene, was finding out that there were people. On one hand, there were people complaining that, too many mothers are expected to raise their kids, and on the other, there's a group that's making sure that fathers can't, get any custody of their kids. And both of these groups call themselves feminist organizations. I mean, they're chasing their own tails so often. It's just everything about the concept of feminism is counterproductive. It doesn't move anything forward. It hasn't in years.
Hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, it's kind of like they just fight for things that they would later have to fight against. It's kind of a lot like they want to force all the religious bakers to serve gay wedding cakes, but then once they have that, then they're kind of like, well, these are microaggressions. You hate me, but it's all secretive. It's like you're doing it. You hate me, but it's so under the radar. When really,
Yeah,
if people could do what they please, then you would know how people really feel about you. It's kind of like how feminists are trying to stop hate speech, but then it's kind of like, well, these are racist microaggressions. It makes them paranoid. That's why I think that if Christians don't want to serve gays, I don't think they should, because then you would know. You would know how people actually feel about you, instead of being paranoid about everybody, and just be paranoid that it's all under the radar. Because if people cannot vocally express how they feel, then it's just going to lead to passive aggressive behavior.
yeah, yeah. Well, my joke with one of the Black Lives Matter activists real early on was, "Oh, I see. You don't want anybody to say anything that offends you, so you want more dead black people, huh?" That seems like a good plan to you, because the guy shouting on the street, fucking I hate black people. Guess what he's not doing? He's not forming a quiet mob and lynching the person he hates. He's getting his energies out in public already.
Yeah, exactly. It's better for a person to just say how they really feel, instead of it building up and building up and building up. And he goes all Dylan Roof and starts shooting up a black church. I mean, I would rather have a person say how they feel as opposed to doing anything.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think Dylan Roof would have happened if he could have just stood on the side of the road and yelled at it? No. No, these things need to get out into the open. These people need to be spoken to, even. That's the other thing, is that a lot of these, you just want to ostracize these people. Okay, yeah, sure. Go off and have them form their own little cliques. That's a good idea.
Yeah. I could see how ostracizing could work if nobody at all would talk to them. However, if they have genuine questions, I would think that their questions should be answered.
Yeah, and not answering them is how we have the alt-right. So,
Yeah, unfortunately, Black Lives Matter and all these other organizations, they don't answer any questions.
no, and they operate from a position of presumed authority, which is so weird.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, well, I'm the one who gets to dictate whether this is X or Y. You're like, no, not last time I checked.
Yeah, or how Black Lives Matter would declare something to be offensive for all Black people. And it's kind of like, well, don't I have a say so for what does and doesn't offend me?
Yeah, I would imagine the Black Lives Matter movement offends you as much as the social justice movement offends me when they're talking about all white people. It's like, look, I don't want to be associated with you. Stop.
Yeah, it's kind of a lot like Black Lives Matter tries to speak for me, and for me, it would be kind of like when the alt rights or the KKK tries to speak for you. Like this is what's all white people think.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they're telling me what the good of the future is. It's like, yeah, no, I don't know about all that, but I mean, even the, professional, like I just finished recording a video of a woman who writes articles for all kinds of stuff, basically about how white people are all inherently racist, and she's a white woman. And it's like she's like socially signaling she's the onlyest good white. It's pretty fucking hilarious. But I don't understand how I'm supposed to like associate with this person positively. And in the comments section, someone even is like, "Look, I understand you think you're doing the right thing, but you're making it worse."
For me, I do think that it's the social justice warriors who are making things worse.
Yeah, absolutely. At this point, and then the thing is, I think some people have accurately identified the reason for that is that they're not honest adversaries.
I didn't catch you there. Your
I,
voice.
I I said at least some people have recognized that the reason we have a problem with them is that they're not honest adversaries. They're not interested in honest intellectual debate or exchange of ideas or even understanding their own position. They're in it just for the power. And as soon as you realize that they're in it just for power and control, you can pretty much dismiss them.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel about a lot of ideologies. I do think that all ideologies pretty much care about power and control. Anyway, what do you think about the alt rights?
I think that they need to be paid attention to. I think not letting them have a mainstream voice is causing more problems.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice if we had more debates, like I remember back seeing some videos where Richard Dawson and Christopher Hitchens would have debates with various people, and it's kind of like I'd like to see more actual debates with the strongest debaters on television. It'd be nice to see that on TV instead of reality where
Yeah,
some. Yeah.
I agree. And unfortunately, you've got like that. Once upon a time, you had a couple shows that were doing that in the UK, but even they've gone sideways. I mean, if you've watched The Big Question anytime recently, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Mhm. I
I mean, it,
haven't heard of the
it
big
used to be
question.
solid. Yeah, the Big Question used to be a solid little panel show where the two or more experts would sit down and have a rational argument, even though it would get heated sometimes. It was still at least pretty good. Now it is social justice programming. Very disappointing.
Yeah, or you're watching one person pawn another person where they just pick the low hanging fruits from the other side just so that they can have an instant win. That was how the Tyra Banks show was like, where Tyra Banks would just get a very low hanging fruit and she would just get some, you know, experts, and it's kind of like unfair because you have the dumbest person.
Yeah, yeah, it's the same thing Fox News does, where they'll hire an expert to come in to debate with a guy who's like just a fucking third tier college professor. It's like, yeah, this is gonna be a good debate.
Yeah, Tyra Banks would have like professionals like doctors and yeah, like doctors coming in debating some Christian from the middle of nowhere. And it's kind of like, of course the doctor's gonna win. I would be happier if it was a doctor, PhD debating another doctor. That would be more entertaining for me.
Yeah, exactly. At least have it be a fair fight.
Yeah. So, are you an avid reader?
Yes, quite.
What books would you recommend?
48 Laws of Power, um, Anti-Intellectualism in American Life, 33 Rules of War by the same author. I believe it's Greenberg again, same guy that did 48 Laws of Power. Uh, and anything by Philip K. Dick, basically. That man was a future teller. I'm beginning to believe he actually was contacted by aliens and told the future, as he stated in his autobiography. I'm actually starting to think he might have been right.
All right. Do you wish more Americans were interested in American politics or even world politics?
Yes and no. I waver back and forth between thinking that there's a hope for some form of a well-informed American or even just general public in the world. And then it wavers back to the realization that 95.95% of all people on the planet don't want to have any responsibility, so thus should not be given positions of power. So it's kind of a wavering back and forth between those two realities.
Yeah, but I mean, if more Americans were into politicians, they could probably make more informed decisions.
Or
Maybe.
they just be more easily manipulated.
That's a good point.
Yeah, there's no fighting that IQ curve, man. I mean, we got to acknowledge that at least 40% of all voters operate between a 70 and 100 IQ.
Mm,
That alone is terrifying.
let's see. Um, do you lean more towards Republican or Democrats?
Burn them both. I don't lean either way. I'm kind of just a liberal in the purest sense of if you're not doing harm to yourself or major harm to or harm to someone or major harm to society, you can do whatever you want.
How do you feel about Obama's presidency?
I think it's been one of the most amusing things to watch people cherry pick. My answer nowadays when someone starts praising Obama for being like this, liberal bastion, because I live in a very liberal area, I just turn to him and I go, one question, do you think he signs the kill list before or after his first cup of coffee in the morning? Because every morning he has to sign a list of people that are legally targets of drone strikes. He has to do this every morning. This is your liberal president.
Did you drop your mic? Because there's a part where it sounded like your mic was fell
No,
over.
it's just not a great microphone. I'm not using the studio rig like I usually would.
Mm, okay. Um,
But basically, what I said was that I wasn't wholly. Anytime someone praises Obama, I like to joke about the kill list that he has to sign every single day.
okay. I am going to give you names on people who tried running for president, and I hope you would give me your opinion of each of them, even though they've dropped out. It's like I know Ted Cruz dropped out, but I'll still like your opinion of him anyway.
Yeah, Ted Cruz is I would go with Trump over Cruz anyway. I'm happy to see him go.
Okay, how do you feel about Bernie Sanders?
I actually am, and I waver back and forth between being a Bernie Sanders supporter. I understand the economic reforms that could be enacted, but I'm not sold on whether the policy would function or not.
Yeah, again, yeah, your mic, it just sounded like it fell off or, was
Yeah,
far away.
that's unfortunate. But basically, I kind of was a Bernie Sanders supporter and kind of still am. Ideally, I understand that eventually we're going to lose a lot of market share. As manufacturing gets further destroyed, we're going to lose more and more labor. So we're going to need to look at a new method of distribution at some point. But I'm not sold that's happening now.
Okay, how do you feel about Hillary Clinton?
Not a fan.
Okay,
Not a fan at all. I'm definitely in the Trump Bernie camp. Anyone but a corporatist, anyone but someone who's in a position of centrist power.
yeah, because I was hoping you would, go into more detail about how you feel about Hillary Clinton.
Oh, you wanted me to go into more detail. Fair enough. Um, I think that I think hiring her, putting her in the office was the same as the idea of putting Bush in the office. We do not need another person in the office that has the name of someone that's already been there. We don't need a queen. We don't need to coronate her at this point. She's not really politically savvy anyway. The fact that she's in this position is solely by the fact that she was first lady at some point and she is a woman. That's why she's here. She's not a good politician by any means. She doesn't have a long political career. She was an aide, she was a wife, and now she's a politician again because Bill can't run.
Yeah, okay, how do you feel about Trump? And I don't mean like, oh, I like him. I mean like go into details on why you support Trump.
Yeah, basically the reason I support and back Trump in any way, shape, or form is the joke is I'm one of those guys that supports Bernie Sanders, and if he loses, I'm gonna vote Trump. Because if you won't let me try and fix it, I would prefer to watch it burn at this point, and you guys aren't playing fair. So I'm perfectly happy to let Trump have it for a couple of years if you guys don't want to play nice.
All right. Is there anything you wish your audience knew about you?
No. No, not in the slightest.
Um,
I actually am nervous about gaining any more further popularity, so.
oh, well, you don't have to worry about getting too much popularity on my channel. I only have 70 subscribers.
Hey, look, that's a good start. I was there for quite a long time.
Mm. Okay, so does anybody have any questions for Hagbard? Hagbard, sorry.
It's okay. Is there a chat going? I can't even see it. That's funny.
Yeah, there's a chats going, and we do have a few people like Agents of Doubt showed up. He said hola. And
Nice.
yeah, does anybody in the chats have any questions before we close? Okay, well, going once, going twice. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.